My name is Diamond, aka Lady Leo, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are a brand new viewer. So I am a lover of all things nail polish, makeup, TV shows, movies, all sorts of things. So my hope is that you come to my channel, find something you like, and hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you. But today I wanted to do a movie review, and I wanted to talk about Blue Beetle. So Blue Beetle is the second to last film in the DCU, the DCEU, so the the DC's expanded universe before they do the hard reset. And this comes to us from director Anwell. This comes from us from director Angel Manuel Sota. Sorry, just looking at my notes. And it stars, is it Zolo Marduena? But I know him from actually Cobra Kai, which I do watch. So I was pretty excited to see this movie because I do know who the Blue Beetle is, mainly because I watch DC's Young Justice, which is an animated show from Warner Brothers, which is kind of just what it says. It's like the Young Justice League, which I'm going to take a quick side note. This show is really great, so if you're interested in it, as far as I know, it's still on HBO Max. And it's kind of an interesting story because the show had like 2 seasons in the beginning a while ago, and then it ended up being canceled. And then they brought it back pretty recently, maybe like a couple years ago, they brought it back for another 2 seasons. So I'm hoping that maybe we will see more. Actually really excited to see this movie. Like I said, I do watch Young Justice, which is how I know about Blue Beetle. He was really prominent in the first 2 seasons and then not much so in the second 2 because they focused on some different characters. But I do know the character is relatively new in terms of like the overall span of how long superheroes have been around. And in fact, let me look it up and you'll be seeing it on screen. But let's see when Blue Beetle was. Okay, so it looks like Blue Beetle and the iteration of him, which is Jaime Reyes, originally made his debut in 2006. Considering it's 2023, that means he's been around for less than 20 years. So relatively short amount of time for that character to be around. That being said, so he hasn't been around for that long. So the movie itself, it's fine. You know, it is a very formulaic movie, but let's not kid ourselves. Almost every movie within a specific genre is formulaic, and as an origin story superhero film, this one's no different. I think the thing for me that I love about this movie is the cast. The cast elevates this movie quite a bit. So you have Yolo Maraduena. So I hope I'm saying his first name right. I always get confused when people have first names that start with like X and Z with how it's pronounced, but I think he does do a really good job as Jaime Reyes, and I liked him quite a bit. And something that they don't do in Young Justice, but that I like in this movie, is that they sort of pull his family into it immediately. And honestly, the family dynamic is the best part of this movie for it. Barring anything that happens in the movie, you know, that dynamic is really, really well done. And, you know, it's people of color, it's people who are Latino and Hispanic. So I love to see other people of color come up, not just my own. So I really enjoyed watching this movie. And I kind of think the action was pretty well done too. It was pretty decent. You have Susan Sarandon as the bad guy. Okay. I'm just trying to find Susan Sarandon, menacing, but I didn't really care about her because, like I said, my focus is really like on Jaime Reyes and the actual the Reyes family, which is really, really great. And I think that Yolo Maraduena has a lot to do in this movie, actually. There's a few really, really important emotional beats, so I think he rides the waves really well. And I would love to see him come back as Blue Beetle, but considering that the DCEU is being dissolved for the DCU, who knows what's going to happen. So all in all, I liked this movie. I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to reinvent the wheel. I mean, I don't even know if it's possible to reinvent the wheel by today's standards, you know what I mean? Because everything can be based on something or inspired by something else. So it's not reinventing the wheel, but I had a fun time watching it, and I would love to see Jaime Reyes in the DCU. Now, wanted to kind of just speak a little bit about what it must be like to be like a young actor in this movie, right? Can you imagine being a young actor of color and getting a role like this where you're going to get to portray a superhero. Those are very popular right now. You're going to get to be part of a cinematic universe, the DC cinematic universe. So that means there could be potential for you to have other roles as this character, maybe even larger roles as this character going forward. But like, I would be over the moon excited to like get this project. And then it seems like there's like a series of events that kind of happened back to back that made it so this movie wasn't successful. You know, so first off, you have, I believe in January is when Warner Brothers and James Gunn announced that they were going to be scrapping the DCEU in its entirety and rebooting it. Is it needed? Yeah. I definitely think it's needed because Warner Brothers has just made a mess of their cinematic universe, but I'm not convinced that like James Gunn coming in is going to fix everything, but I feel like that's a completely different video. So they decided they're going to be scrapping their universe. So I think for some people, they may not be even interested in seeing any of the other DC films this year because like, what's the point? They're going to be completely like revamping the universe, may not even use these actors or these characters. So like, why should I get invested? Which I understand that point. You have that. So you have that the DCEU is going to be completely revamped. So even though you as a young actor, now you're attached to this, now you're not even going to be part of a shared universe anymore. And even though I remember seeing an article where James Gunn said he might use Blue Beetle going forward, let's not kid ourselves. If he does decide that he's going to use Blue Beetle, they're completely revamping the universe, right? So we're not going to see Blue Beetle for a while. It'll probably be at least a few years, if at all. So I'm not going to hold my breath for that. So now the DCEU is not going to exist as it is currently. So then the next thing that happens is that there are two other DCEU films that came out before this movie. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which came out in March, and The Flash, which came out in June. Both of those movies were heavy underperformers at the box office, and I would say they were pretty mediocre, if I'm being honest, personally. Those were really big losses for Warner Brothers on those two films. So that's not setting the stage for your film, which is coming out in August, to be super like successful. On top of the fact that it was a very packed summer schedule, right? So there could be some fatigue going on from audiences too. So audiences could just be like, oh, I don't want to watch another film. So there could be that too. And then throw in like the last nail in the coffin, which is the writers and the actors strike. Now, first of all, I stand with anybody who's trying to get paid what they're worth. And I feel like sometimes strikes are needed. Honestly, I didn't even know how complex the writers and actors strike were until I was watching Dan Murrell. You should check him out. He's actually really great. And he covers it really well, and he covers like the points of contention that the Writers Guild or the Actors Guild might have. And I think it's really, really interesting, and it's so much more in depth than I ever thought. But anyway, so you have the writers strike and the actors strike going on at the same time, which literally the writer's strike has been going on for a while, but the actor's strike just took place like right before this movie was set to debut. So essentially what that means is that you can't promote this movie at all. So I'm not going to lie. Like if I was an actor attached to this, one of the young actors who's in this movie, I would be heartbroken. Like, can you imagine like being attached to something like this, being super excited about it, and now it's your time to like do a press tour so you can talk about it and you can't promote the movie at all. The universe is completely being dissolved, so you're not going to have any more future opportunities probably to portray this character. I mean, I would be heartbroken, and I would also be kind of pissed. So I feel quite sad for the young actors in this movie. And then on top of that, the movie wasn't super successful at the box office. I'm kind of saddened by that. I thought the movie was fine. I didn't think the movie was god-awful terrible. Honestly, when it comes to DCEU films, I typically go in with low expectations because they're very hit or miss. So if they do happen to be really good, then I'm like, wow, that was great. That wasn't my experience with this movie, but again, I really liked this movie. I had a fun time with it. And honestly, I would watch it again. So who knows what was going to happen going forward with Blue Beetle. It does really kind of sadden me because I would like to see Jaime Reyes, fighting alongside the Young Justice League or something like that. So who knows? Maybe James Gunn's going to make it happen. You don't know. Guess we won't find out for several years. But that's my take on Blue Beetle. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Did you guys see the movie? Did you like it? Did you hate it? How do you feel about the DCEU? I feel like I should probably sit down and maybe like record my thoughts on the DCEU because I have a lot of things to say about Warner Brothers. And like I mentioned earlier in this video, I'm just not convinced that like James Gunn coming in is going to fix everything because I'm just not convinced that you can change Warner Brothers, but that's probably just like the cynic in me. So I feel like maybe I should talk about that in a different video. But anyway, like the video if you like it, hit the subscribe button. Like I said, I would love to have you. Check me out on all my socials, which I'll put in the description. Although if I'm being honest, the main socials that I'm active on are my Facebook and my Instagram in particular. I wouldn't necessarily follow me on Tweety. I don't really tweet, and I don't really TikTok a lot. But anyway, they're there if you want to follow me. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye. Later. See you. Bye, 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 bye.